I've spent years pretending like I fully enjoy Christopher Nolan's films. Every time I leave the theater after watching a film by him, I would say something like, "That was incredible. What a great work of art." Sometimes I would recommend the project to a couple of my closest friends. In a way, I was telling the truth. You see, from the scale of his productions, the sound design, the precision of his editing, the sheer ambition of his ideas, everything about Christopher Nolan's projects, they feel monumental. Honestly, I admire his craftsmanship, and I also think I understand it when I see people call him the greatest director of his generation. But somewhere underneath the awe and respect I have for him, there's a truth I've buried for too long. I admire the ambition of Nolan's projects more than I actually connect with them as a film lover. And honestly, it's like living in a cage of pretense where you always have to be careful so you don't embarrass yourself among film bros. But this is 2026, and the sad truth is, I have never fully enjoyed a Christopher Nolan film. Now see, this confession itself feels like a taboo in many cinephile spaces. Nolan is one of the directors who is highly popular and also has a huge critical acclaim to show for it. Loving his films often feel like a proof that you get cinema. Disliking them or displaying indifference can feel like a failure of comprehension. Somebody will say, "You're probably not smart enough to comprehend the structure of his storytelling or the weight of his theme." For a long time, I worried that my distance from his work meant that I wasn't paying enough attention, or I wasn't thinking hard enough, or I wasn't sophisticated enough. But the truth is simpler. I think my taste clashes with his storytelling priorities. You see, what I respond to most in film is not scale or complexity or intellectual ambition. I respect all those things, and I believe they should be encouraged, because without them, cinema will get boring. Yet what stays with me are the human turning points. When a character makes a sacrifice that changes everything, a decision that moves the plot forward, a reunion that you don't see coming, or a line of heavy dialogue with consequence. I hold on to emotional moments. I remember moral choices. I replay the instant when a character chooses something that changes everything. Now, this is not me saying that Nolan's films don't have them. The problem is that by the time I arrive, I'm already too drained from trying to figure out what is going on to actually appreciate the moment. This is where the problem lies. Anytime I watch his films, I get a feeling that Nolan builds his stories around the theme he's trying to explore. And I really hate that after seeing his films, I always need to return to YouTube and Reddit to find explainer videos and threads. Take Inception, for example. I was mesmerized by the dreamscapes, cities folding into each other, always rotating in zero gravities, and timelines stacked upon timelines. The manipulation of time, space, and structure was exhilarating, to say the least. Yet if someone asked me what the film is truly about on an emotional level, I struggle to answer. I remember the mechanics vividly. I remember the spectacle, but the emotional arc feels hazy, buried underneath layers of technical storytelling. The reunion with his children at the end should devastate me. Instead, I find myself thinking about the spinning top. Yet I still consider this film one of the greatest ever made, because I couldn't take my eyes away from the screen from start to end. With Interstellar, the problem is worse. The film genuinely sparked my interest in space exploration and time dilation. It made me curious about astrophysics in a way few films ever have. And yet, while I admired his ambition, the story itself did little for me. Of course, there is sacrifice, there is reunion, all the grand emotional gestures are there, but they are embedded in so much scientific exposition and structural complexity that I feel as though I am chasing the film rather than living inside it. I understand what it's trying to say, I just don't feel it in my bones. By the time McConaughey's character reunites with his daughter, I really don't give a fuck. Then there is Tenet, perhaps the clearest example of my disconnect. I think I got wet the day I heard that Nolan and Patterson were working on a film together. It does things to your body when you realize one of your favorite actors is working on a film with arguably the greatest director of the century so far. I desperately wanted to love that film. Time inversion is exactly the kind of concept that should excite me. But when I look back, what do I remember? Two men in suits, a spectacular airport scene, a wealthy woman trapped in a cold marriage. I remember images and fragments. I do not remember high emotional stakes. I cannot remember a sacrifice or decision that I consider unforgettable from that film. Even Oppenheimer, which is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen on the big screen, that left me with the same kind of emptiness. It's a beautiful film, masterfully constructed. The tension is palpable in every scene. Yet I rarely find myself thinking about it in the way I think about some of my favorite scenes from other movies. I remember the hearings, the timelines, the bomb testing, the lawsuits. I cannot replay a single turning point in that film that returns to me occasionally. What I remember is the iconic Cillian Murphy meme and all the intimate moments with Florence Pugh's character in the hotel room. Then finally, there is Memento, the first Nolan film I ever saw. At the time, I saw it on multiple lists of greatest films of the century so far, and I desperately wanted to understand the hype, only to find out that everything I had just watched happened in reverse. Memento became the first time a movie frustrated me, confused me, and yet I wanted more of that kind of direction. Let me put it into perspective. Memento is the kind of film where the director himself has to create an explainer video. The most liked comment under the video says he's not going to be happy until he makes a film that confuses even himself. So you see, I'm not the only one. At first, I thought the problem might be the characters themselves. I remember the faces. Leonardo DiCaprio in Inception, Christian Bale in the Dark Knight trilogy, Cillian Murphy in Oppenheimer. But I started to question whether I actually remember the characters, or what I remember is the magnetism of the actors playing them. Take away the love and respect I have for these men, and I struggle to identify the emotional core that helps me remember their association with this film. When I think about films that have stayed with me for years, I think about films like Mad Max Fury Road. Beneath the mad road chase, the unending action, and the disturbing costume, there is a crystal clear moral decision. Furiosa choosing to turn back and confront tyranny rather than flee from it. Or I think of The Shawshank Redemption, a film built around endurance and the need to stay hopeful. That reunion on the beach is not conceptually complex. I love that I am not tasked with decoding anything else in that scene. It's simply laid bare before me and I only need to connect and feel it. The same applies to directors I find myself gravitating towards recently, like Ryan Coogler or Jordan Peele, or even someone as monumental as Steven Spielberg. These directors tackle grand ideas like identity and horror, or sometimes even history, but they anchor these ideas in intimate human journeys. The visual spectacles serve the story and this character, and the team emerges from the story, not the story from the team. I never feel as though I must solve the film before I can enjoy it. With Nolan, I often feel the reverse. His themes are fascinating and already confusing enough for me. I enter his films excited for these very concepts, yet somewhere along the way, the exploration of these themes completely overshadow the emotional core of the film. His storytelling feels consumed by the very ideas it's trying to illuminate. You could blame this on my lack of understanding or average intelligence, and that would make sense. But what happens when this is a popular sentiment among film lovers? I have interacted with people who feel the same about his films. Now, none of this diminishes his talents. Without question, Nolan is one of the most technically advanced filmmakers working today. Commitment to practical effects, cinematography, structure, and sound design is proof that he takes cinema seriously as an art form. I think he is in that class of directors whose work helps to evolve filmmaking with every film. Every attention his work earns is deserved, and I'll always include him among the most important directors of his era. Yet the truth remains, I have never fully enjoyed a Christopher Nolan film, and I'm tired of pretending that admiration equals enjoyment. If this becomes the truth that gets my cinephile card revoked, then I'm ready to bear that consequence. I will certainly be the first person at my local theatre on July 17, 2026, the day the Odyssey hits the big screen. Because no matter my struggles with his work, there is something I crave in movies that only Christopher Nolan seems able to give, and I won't stop searching for it.